sorry about that, the computer is cut out again, the program. So 6a plus 6b, which is the right hand side of this equal sign, is equal to 6 as a common factor. I'm left with a plus b. Okay, but we told that a plus b is positive. So in other words, I must work with this part here. Okay, we know that a plus b squared is equal to 3. Take square root both sides. Don't forget plus minus, so a plus b is equal to plus minus 3, the root of 3. However, we are told this is positive, so it's only plus. We say that here. Okay. So in other words, that will be 6 root 3, which is equal to the right hand side, the left hand side, which is 18 over root 3, which is equal to, and it was given to be equal to 6 root 3, which is equal to the right hand side. Okay. This is an identity. Left hand side is equal to right hand side. Question 2. The question says solve for x, so I take 7 over the equal sign. So x squared minus 6x minus 7 is equal to 0. Trinomial x and x, 7 and 1, minus plus. So x equal to 7 or x equal to negative. You could have used your quadratic formula here as well, you would have gotten the full 3 marks anyway. The next one is a case substitution question. We're going to make the sum a bit more manageable, or a bit more easier to work with. So what do I do here is I say let x to the third equals k. So remember that they can be written as x to the third squared. So in other words, this will be k squared minus 3k minus 10 is equal to 0. Trinomial, it will be k and k, 5 and 2 minus plus. So k is equal to 5 or k is equal to negative. The question was not to solve for x, however it was not to solve for k, however for x. So k is x to the third is equal to 5, or x to the third is equal to negative 2. To get rid of the third, we raise to the power 3 both sides. So in other words, x is equal to 125, or x is equal to negative. Okay, any issues there? No? Next one. (2.1.3) correct the 2 decimal places. Automatically what must come to mind? Quadratic formula. So I must first get it in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So 3x squared minus 2x minus 14 is equal to 0. Your a value of course is 3, your b value is negative 2, and your c value is negative 14. Then it goes into the formula. X is equal to minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2. You don't have to write this formula down. However, the substitution needs to be shown, which is a step I'm currently busy with. Negative 2 squared minus 4 times 3 minus 14 over 2a. Punch that in the calculator. So you got negative 2, so it's 2 plus the square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times 8 times negative 14 over 2 times 3. Whoops. Didn't put it in brackets over times. I should have. So it's 1 plus the square root of 43 or minus square root of 43 over 3, which is 2 comma 1, 2 comma 5, 2. Remember this question, they penalize you if you're not rounding off properly. Okay? So watch out for that one there. And of course the one with the negative It's negative 1,85. Okay. The next one, 2.1.4. To solve for x here, the first thing is we need to isolate the square root. So we take it over the equal sign. So it's going to become x minus 2, the square root thereof is equal to negative x plus 2. Since the square root is isolated, I square both sides now. Get rid of the square root, so x minus 2 is equal to negative x all squared is x squared, that comes out times 2 is negative 4x plus 4. 0 on one side, everything else on the other, so it's x squared minus 4 minus 1 is minus 5x plus 6. That factorizes into x and 3, x and 2 both is negative, and of course x is equal to 3 or x is equal to 2. So what we do now is we test and check if it works. We put 3 in here, 3 minus 1 is 2, the square root of that is going to give you 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, so that one doesn't work. Let's try 2. 2 in the left hand side here. So it's going to be 2 minus 2, which is 0. Square root of 0 is 0, and 0 plus 2 is 2. So that one works. You must check here. If you don't check, you will always lose this one mark. Okay. The next question is your inequality question, which is a question you must know how to do as well. It's asked often. So we take it over the equal sign, becomes x squared minus 7x is less than 0. X is a common factor. Okay, now many times you see the learners say x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 7. That is not the case. We have to say critical values. Okay, critical values at 0 and 7. If you had said equal, you should have lost the mark there. So there's your 0 and your 7. So it must be less than. So it's below the line. So it's a continuous solution there. Remember that's y is equal to 0, more than and less than. It's continuous, so x is greater than 0 but less than 7. Next. 2.2, the question says solve for x and y simultaneously, which means this at the same time. So you got 5y minus x is equal to 2 and x squared minus 3xy plus 4y is equal to 4. So in the two equations we're going to work and make either x or y the subject of the formula. In this case I need to make x the subject of the formula. So that becomes x is equal to 5y minus 2. That's equation 1, and we call this equation 2. So you'll substitute equation 1 into equation 2. Alright, so if I see a x, I put there 5y minus 2. 5y minus 2 squared minus 3y into 5y minus 2 plus 4y equals. It's a matter of simplifying here, so it's going to be 25y squared. That times 2 is negative 20y plus 4 minus 15y squared plus 6y plus 4y equals 4. Okay? 25y squared minus 15y squared is 10y squared. Negative 20y plus 10y is negative 10y. 4 minus 4 cancel. So 10y is a common factor, left with y minus 1. So y is equal to 0 or y is equal to, is that correct? Right. So what do I do with that? I sub it into equation 1. So x is equal to 0 times 5 is 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Or on the other hand, so x is equal to 5 times 1 is 5 minus 2 is 3. Those are your corresponding x values. Okay. The next question is 2.3. It says if 3 is one root of the equation. What does a root mean? An x value. Okay. Determine the value of k. So if the one x value is 3, so it's 2 times 3 squared minus 3 times 3 equals negative k. So that's going to give you 9. 18 minus 9 equals negative k. So k is 9 in the negative. Not so. k is negative 9. The next question says, calculate the value of the other root. The other root is the other x value. Okay, so k is 9, so it's 2x squared minus 3x equals negative minus 9. We get over the equal sign, so 2x squared minus 3x, that is 9, bringing it over becomes minus 9. One of two things, I can either use my quadratic equation, or I can factorize this using your trinomials. Okay. So that is 2, negative 3, negative 9. So the one is 3n. So x, you should have gotten minus plus, no? So x is equal to 3, or x is equal to negative 3 over 2. Now, if you had used the quadratic equation, you could have gone from this straight into that. There's no mark allocated for this here. Okay, so whichever method you prefer using, you get a mark for it. But the question is, calculate the value of the other root. So x is equal to 3 is the one root, and this is the root they're looking for. That's the other root. Okay, the other x value. Okay. Number 2.4. Make this a bit smaller. 2.4, the diagram below shows an oval piece of land acquired for his poultry project. He decided to use the biggest possible rectangular piece of land out of the entire piece. The rectangular piece will have a length of 2x and a breadth of y meters as shown. Alright, first question. The first question says, show that the area of the rectangle can be written as that. Given that the perimeter of the rectangle is 280. What you notice here is no y's here. Not so. So I'm going to try and write y in terms of x. Okay, because if we look at the area is with length times breadth. Here we simply is going to be y times 2x. And that is not the case. Can you see that? So the perimeter, how do you calculate the perimeter of an object? It's 2 length plus 2 breadth. Not so. 2 length plus 2 breadth. But the perimeter is 280, so 280 is equal to 2 times the length, which is 2x, plus the breadth, which is y. So I'm going to make y the subject of the formula. We got 2y is equal to 280 minus 4x divided by 2. So that's going to give you 140 minus 2x. So this is the breadth in terms of y, in terms of x, sorry, or y in terms of x. So what we do with this is we sub that back into that equation. So we have your area is now equal to your y, which is 140 minus 2x times your breadth, which is 2x. So that's going to give you, you multiply out, get rid of the fraction, bracket, sorry. So it's 280x minus 4x squared. Okay, which is exactly what they asked you to prove. Okay. Then the question says, determine the maximum possible area that the rectangle can occupy. So, what do we do for maximum area? Complete the square. Not so. So if the area is defined as 280x minus 4x squared, or the same as negative 4x squared plus 280x, complete the square, I need to first take out negative 4 as a common factor, is x squared minus, that's 140, so it's 75. No, 70. Is that correct? No? Alright. So, to complete the square, we must add a number and subtract the same number, of course. So 70 times half is 35, and 35 squared is what? Huh? 144. 225. 225. 1225. Okay. So these are your perfect square trinomial. So it's negative 4 into x minus 35 squared minus. What is 35 squared minus 1225? Yes? Did I make a mistake? Right, let's check. 28 divided by 4. Whoops. 280 divided by 4. That's 70. Times on 35 squared. Oh, I see, my mistake. Okay. I'm trying to add this. That shouldn't be the case. So it's 1225. No? Yes, which is now negative 4 into x minus 35 squared plus 1225 times 4. Gives you 4,900. Alright, now let's go back to the question. Determine the maximum possible area. That is the maximum area. 4,900 meters square. Okay? Or units square, whatever. They'll ask you what is the maximum dimensions. Then it would have been 35 times 2, which is 70. Not so? 70 by 70 would have given you the maximum area. Okay. Okay, 2.5, the question says, determine the values of k for which the equation x squared minus 2x plus k minus 1 has real roots. The roots are dependent on delta, not so. Delta, which is b squared minus 4ac. So, that equation given to you is already in standard form. By a value being 1, by b value being negative 2, and the c value being k minus 1. So it's negative 2 squared minus 4, your a value is 1, and your c value is k minus 1, which is 4 minus 4k plus 1, which is negative 4k plus 8. So that's your delta. But what's the question? The question was for real roots. What do we know what happens for real roots? For real roots, what do we know about delta? Delta must be greater or equal to 0. So negative 4k plus 8 must be greater or equal to 0. So negative 4k must be greater or equal to negative 8. So k must be less than or equal to 2. Remember, when you divide it by negative, the inequality swaps around. Any issues there? Huh? No? The next one, the 1 root is equal to 3. Determine the value of k. So this is very similar to previous question. So here we're going to have 3 squared minus 2 times 3 plus k minus 1 is equal to 0. So that's going to give you 9 minus 6. What's 9 minus 6? 3. 3 minus 1 is 2, so k must be 3. Okay. Question 3. Yes? 2.5.2. It says determine the value of k for which the equation x squared minus 2x plus k minus 1 is equal to 0 has 1 root equal 3. What is the roots? The roots are x values with solutions to the equation. So what do I do is I substitute wherever I see x, I put a 3. Not a O, it's a 0, no? So it's going to be 3 squared minus 2 times 3 plus k minus 1 is equal to 0. And I just solve for k. Okay. Alright, question 3. Sketch below is the graph of f of x equal to a to the x, where a is greater than 1, point R lies on the y-intercept of f. T is a point 2 and 9. Okay. First question. Calculate the value of a. So in pursuit of calculating the value for a, we need a point that's lying on this graph. So we're going to substitute t, which is 2 and 9, into f of x. Remember that's x and a y, so 9 is equal to a squared. Square root it off, don't forget plus minus, but we are told that a is positive, so it's only plus. So a is equal to 3. Okay. Next question. Write down the equation of the asymptote of it. Here's the asymptote. What's up? What's the equation of that asymptote? Y is equal to 0. That's the equation of the asymptote, which is your x-axis. Okay. I'm just doing this so that I can keep the diagram in focus. Alright, the question says write down the range of f. People, what's the range? All possible y values. Does this graph exist at negative infinity on the y? No. Where does it start existing at? 0 onwards. So y has to be greater than 0. Write down the coordinates of r. What is r, people? R is your y-intercept. What do you do for y-intercept? Let x equal to 0. So f of 0 is equal to 3 to the 0, which is 1. So the coordinates of r is 0 and 1. Okay. .5. The graph of g is obtained by reflecting the graph of f in the y-axis. If something reflected in the y-axis, what do we know? X becomes negative. Okay, so f of no more f of x, however, y is equal to the graph of g. So it's actually a g of x graph. The x becomes negative, so it's 3 to the negative x, or 1 over 3 raised to x. Then it says, write down the domain of f. What is the domain? All possible x values. What can we say? Go negative infinity, positive infinity. So x is an element of all the real numbers. Okay. Question 4. We are given that negative 6 over x minus 3 is minus 1. The question says determine the coordinates of the y-intercept of g. So how do you calculate y-intercept? Y-intercept. We let x equal to 0. So g of 0 equals negative 6 over 0 minus 3 minus 1, which is 2, 1. The coordinates, therefore, is 0 and 1. Number 2, write down the equation of the asymptotes of g. What's the equation of the asymptotes of g? X is equal to 3, or, it's coming from here, isn't it? Or, y is equal to negative. Those are the equations of the asymptotes. You don't say x is not equal to 3, and x is not equal to 1, okay? In 4.3 they ask you to write down the domain of g of x. And of g. So what is the domain? Domain is all possible x values. We know that x can not be equal to 3. So x is an element of all real numbers, x is not equal to 3. Then I ask you to sketch this graph. Okay? So firstly we draw in our asymptotes. First is x is equal to 3. We have a y value at minus 1. Okay. It is negative. We have a y value of negative 1. No. Cuts at 1. And an x intercept. We didn't work out the x intercept, not so? No. So there is the graph. If they ask you to work out the x-intercept, we should have actually worked it out. It says because they wanted to indicate all asymptotes or the asymptotes and intercepts. Okay, we cut your intercepts. So there's actually a mark allocated, should be allocated because of how the question is structured. So how do you work out the x-intercept? We let y equal to 0. Okay, so we say 0 is equal to negative 6 over x minus 3 minus 1. Okay. We take the 1 over the equal sign, so negative 6 equals x minus 3, we cross multiply. So x is equal to minus 3. No, minus 3. X is minus 3. Okay. So there's that graph that they're looking for. Okay. And let's look at the next two questions. 4.5. Question 4.5, they say determine the value of the values for x for which g of x is greater than 0. So this is the y is equal to 0 line. Greater than 0 is from there onward. From negative 3 to 3. Can you see that? In other words, x is greater than negative 3 but less than 3. Okay. The last 4.6 is calculate the average gradient. Average gradient. So we know what g of negative 2 is. Work that out. Just get the equation from there. So I'm going to get negative 6 over negative 2 minus 3 minus 1. So that's going to give you 5. 1 over 5. Just check if that's correct. And then g of 0 is, we know what g of 0 is 1, which is this point. Okay? So for the average gradient, it's going to be f of b minus f of a over b minus a. Alright, remember the coordinates. It's negative 2 and 1 over 5. Like we do gradient, 0 and 1. Okay. So that would be 1 over 5 minus 1 over 2 minus 0. Of course, this gradient has to be positive. As you can see, it's from negative 2, which is about here, to there. Okay. So that's going to give you, make a mistake, 1 over 5 minus 1, and, oh, this is minus 2. Okay, so that gives you 1 over 10. No, 4. Sorry? 2 over 5. It's a very gentle gradient, it's a low gradient. No? What does that mean if they ask you to interpret that answer? What does that mean? The graph increases at the rate of 2/5. Okay. Question 5. How much do we still have left? We're always done. Okay. So we'll finish this in today. in today's lesson. It's actually a short paper. No? You guys have a lot of time left when you were in this paper. Huh? Yeah, 15 minutes left. And you had a lot of time left. Yeah. Because I felt like this paper was supposed to have been a bit longer. But okay, it's fine. So the sketch below shows the graphs of. Let's draw the sketch up quickly. A bit smaller. Of f of x, let me just pull this down. So we have f of x equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 3, and g of x equals mx plus 3. The graph of x, g passes through, the graph of g passes through E. The y passes through the point E on the y-axis and intersects the graph of f at the point C, which is also the turning point of f and A respectively, which means to say in that order. Point A and B are points of the f, and the line CD is the x-axis. CD is the axis of symmetry of f. So CD is the axis of symmetry of f. Okay, let's take this up. Alright, first things first. Right, first question. Determine the coordinates of C, the turning point of F. How do you calculate turning point? How do you calculate turning point? Minus B over 2A. So it's minus 2 over 2A, which is negative 1, which is negative 1. You all agree with that? So the coordinates of C is the x value of minus 1. How do you get the corresponding y value? You substitute x equal to minus 1 into the f of x equation, into the parabolas equation. So negative minus 1 squared minus 2 into negative 1 plus 3, which is negative 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is 4. So the coordinates of C is negative 1 and 4. Okay. The next one, 5.2. Question 5.2, we are told calculate the length of AB. So as you can see here, AB is your, A and B are your x-intercepts. Okay? So how do you calculate the x-intercept? X-intercept, we let y equal to 0. So it's on the parabola. So 0 is equal to negative x squared minus 2x plus 3. So 0 is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. Trinomial, you can use your quadratic equation here as well, doesn't matter. So you got x and x3 and 1 plus and minus. So x is equal to minus 3 or x equal to 1. But have you answered the question? The question is, what is the length of AB? Therefore the length of AB is going to be 4 units. Okay. Remember from there to there is 1, and that is 3. Remember, length is never negative. That is going to give you your 4 units. Okay. 1.3. They want you to determine the equation of G. So as you can see here, the equation, what is G? G is your straight line. Do we have 2 points on the straight line? Yes, we do. Okay. The 1 point being C, which is negative 1 and 4, and A, which is negative 3 and 0. So what do I need to calculate first? The gradient. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's going to give you 0 minus 4 over minus 3 minus minus 1. It has to be a positive gradient, of course. So that's going to give you negative 4 over negative 2, which is 2. Alright, so we have y is equal to 2x plus c. Do I have a y-intercept? No. But again, substitute one of the points as lying on this graph, which is a, which is negative 3 and 0. So 0 is equal to 2 times. It's going to be a positive value there. Negative 3 plus c, so c is 6. The equation is y is equal to 2x plus 6. And that's the equation of g of x. Okay. The next question says, determine the value of the values for x for which f of x is equal to g of x. So f of x is equal to g of x. We have the graphs equal, it's there and there. Not so. So we have the equal at x equal to negative 3 or x equal to negative 4. Next question. 5.4.2, the question says, where is f of x times g of x less than 0? Which means to say, what does less than 0 mean? It is negative. Not so. Under what condition is something negative when you multiply? Is one is positive, one is negative, or one is negative, the other one is positive. Not so. So when is something, when is a graph positive? It's positive when it's above this line of y is equal to 0, or the x-axis, or it's below the line of your x-axis or your y is equal to 0. Did you see that? So that is the case. So what do we have? The one must be positive, one must be negative. From here you can see both is negative. Again, looking from here. You put the eyelashes there. Looking from on top, both graphs is negative. Can you see that? Here, both is positive. Can you see that? You all see that, people? On that side, both is still positive, and on that side, one positive, one negative from that point of 1. Okay. If you got it again, we just draw a vertical line here. Maybe you'll see it better, for those of you who don't see it like that. We look here. Whoops. Look here. When you notice, both graphs is negative. Can you see both is below the line? Here, that is 0. We're not interested in that. Here, both is above the line. Can you see that, people? Both is above, above, above. Till then, what happens here? Still both is above. Can you see that? Here, onwards. One is above and one is below. Can you see that? So, what do we say? To answer this question, x has to be greater than 1. Alright. The last question, we just throw that thing down for me. The bonus question, if 6 to the x is equal to m, determine 18 to the x over 2 to the negative 1 in terms of e. So again, working from the known, what we do know. Okay, we can break this up. That can be written as 2 times 3 squared raised to the x over 2 to the minus x. Okay, so that can be written as 2 to the x times 3 to the 2x over 2 to the minus x. When bases are the same and dividing, subtract the exponents, so it's 2 to the x plus x will be 2 to the 2x times 3 to the 2x. As you can see here, I need to end up with 6 to the x. So what we do also see that 2 times 3 can be written as that thing. Not so. So it has the same exponent. So it can be written as one exponent. Which means to say that is 6 to the 2x. Not so. However, they said 6 to the x is m. So 6 to the x squared is the same as 6 to the 2x. Can you see that? What is 6 to the x? M. So in other words, it's m squared. Okay, any comment on this paper? Other than that it's too easy? Nothing. Alright, so that basically brings us to the end of this paper. Tomorrow, during our math lesson tomorrow, we will do paper 2. Alright. Can somebody just collect all the files, please? Paper 2 is cut already for tomorrow.